powers over 4,000 roller coasters in the world, but only some reach over 100 miles an hour. Here are the 10 fastest roller coasters in the world. Before I go on to this list, make sure to like and subscribe so you can get notified when there's more content like this. Another thing is, I will not be including Dododampa because that is currently being taken down, and I do have standing but not operating coasters on this list, but Dododampa is no longer standing. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. At number 10 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. This coaster goes 93 miles an hour and was the first coaster to cross the 300-foot mark in height. The height is 310 feet, but the drop is 300 feet. The speed is 93 miles an hour, and the vertical angle, 80.0 degrees. Duration is 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and it broke 10 world records when it opened, which is crazy. That's how ambitious Cedar Point is with their projects. Now let's go from Ohio to North and South Carolina with Fury 325 at Carowinds. Fun fact, this coaster actually goes between two states, North and South Carolina, which is crazy. This coaster is the 9th fastest in the world and goes a speed of 95 miles an hour, has a drop of 320 feet, and a height of 325 feet, which is the world's tallest coaster with a train lift. Fury 325 also continuously gets voted the #1 steel coaster in the world by Golden Ticket Awards. Another thing to note is that this is the best coaster manufactured by Bolliger and Mabillard because it is so good. Well, at least how it looks. Next up, we have Steel Dragon 2000 at Nagashima Spa Land in Japan. This is the world's longest coaster at 8,133.2 feet. It has a height of 318 feet and a speed of 95 miles an hour, which is tied for 9th. It also has a vertical angle of 68 degrees and a duration of 4 minutes. Fun fact, this coaster actually uses 2 chain lifts because of how tall it is. Another 2 fun facts are that this coaster is the tallest and fastest coaster manufactured by Morgan, and it uses B&M trains, Bolliger and Mabillard, just like Fury 325. Now let's head from Japan to Germany, where we have Ring Racer at Nürburgring. This coaster is currently standing but not operating, but it's on this list because it still can operate today. This coaster originally opened to go 135 miles an hour, which at the time was the fastest coaster in the world. But due to some issues and the ride exploding at one point, it only goes 99 miles per hour on its most recent rides. One fact which isn't really so fun is that this coaster only opened for 4 days, and it opened on Halloween in 2013. In case you're wondering, some other stats are this ride has a length of 3,976.3 feet and a height of 123 feet. This coaster's launch really seemed wild, and it's actually the only S&S coaster we have on this list. Now let's go back to America on the West Coast for Superman Escape from Krypton at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This coaster was technically the world's tallest coaster when it opened, having a height of over 400 feet and a speed of 100 miles an hour, which is the first one on this list. This coaster is really short, only having a length of 1,235 feet, which is really short. The ride only lasts about 30 seconds, but the vertical angle is 90 degrees. The drop is 328 feet compared to the actual height, which is 415 feet. That's how much it goes up. The G-force 4.5, which that's surprising. And the duration 28 seconds, which, yeah, that's not very much. Now, for all the POVs I've shown, I've had to sped it up by a lot sometimes. This one, I have to have multiple POVs because of how short this ride is. It's crazy. Next up is the tallest and fastest coaster in Europe. This is Red Force at Ferrari Land in Spain. This coaster goes 111.8 miles per hour, which currently is the fastest operating coaster to use LSMs. This coaster, like I said, is the tallest and fastest coaster in Europe, but it's still another short one in duration with 2,887 feet. It has a height of 367 feet, which, it's the tallest in Europe, and a speed of 111.8 miles an hour, which is our second coaster to break the 100 mile per hour barrier. This coaster also just looks great. I mean, it is red and black, kind of grayish, but it looks absolutely amazing and probably one of the best looking coasters in Europe. Next up, we have our second coaster at Cedar Point, which is Top Thrill 2. This coaster has been standing but not operating for a while now and is set to open in 2025. Anyways, now let's get into the stats. This coaster goes 120 miles an hour. It has a height of 420 feet, a drop of 400 feet, and a length of 2,800 feet, which even though it's a similar length to some of the other coasters on here, the duration is actually much longer because it has that big backward spike that you're about to see in a second. This coaster's first launch goes about 70 miles an hour. The second one, which is backwards, goes 100 miles an hour. And the third one, which is the main one where it reaches its top speed, is 120 miles per hour. This is just another reason to come out to Cedar Point to experience this crazy thrill ride. This coaster also adds so much more to the Cedar Point skyline, which already looked crazy. A fun fact, if you didn't already know, is that Intamin first built this as the world's tallest roller coaster, but then there was an accident, and so Cedar Point went to Zamperla to make this crazy creation, which is Zamperla's tallest and fastest and biggest project by far. Now let's head from Cedar Point to Six Flags Great Adventure with the only coaster I've ridden on this list, King Ka. This is the current world's tallest coaster and technically the world's fastest operating roller coaster right now. This coaster has a length of 3,118 feet, has a height of 456 feet, a drop of 418 feet, and a speed of 128 miles an hour, which is the fastest coaster in the US. Even though this coaster is great and the launch is really powerful, the restraints are very bad, and I do not recommend stapling yourself because it can hurt. This coaster also has two good airtime moments with the top hat and the bunny hill, and I also recommend sitting in the front row for the best experience. I will warn you, do not ride in the back. That row is very rough. Now let's go to the Middle East for our next two coasters, which aren't open at the moment, but they are crazy. This POV is Formula Rossa at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. This coaster goes 149 miles per hour, which, if it were open, would be the fastest coaster operating today. This coaster only has a height of 170 feet, which I believe is the shortest coaster on this list, but it makes up for that in the length of 6,804 feet. This coaster also pulls a whopping 4.8 Gs and really looks like a crazy ride. It also has a nice color scheme. Even though it's all white, it still looks pretty good in the sun, and it looks good on the sand, which you would probably see a lot in the Middle East. This coaster probably also has a few good airtime moments like this hill here. I have not ridden it, but it does look like it. It also seems like it has one of the best launches in the world, if not the best launch in the world currently, at 149 miles an hour, which is wild to think about. Now, finally, we have our last coaster on this list, which is the world's fastest coaster, opening in 2025. I cannot believe this thing is gonna be built. It's already started, and it looks insane. Let's look at the stats now. Speed, 155.3 miles an hour. It's only about 6 miles an hour faster than Formula Rossa. Drop, 519 feet. That would be the world's fastest coaster. But the elevation is 639.8 feet, which is insane. Next, the length, 13,943.6 feet, which is 5,000 feet longer than the current world's longest coaster. This coaster is absolutely insane. And the layout looks good too. This is gonna be the world's first Exacoaster. So we've seen Giga coasters, we've seen Strata coasters, but this is an Exacoaster, which is a completely new term. And surprisingly, like some of the other coasters on this list, this one does not use a hydraulic launch, does not use an air compressed launch. This coaster reaches 155 miles an hour with LSMs, linear synchronous motors. This thing goes up and down a quarry wall like Iron Rattler, but about like 6 times bigger. Surprisingly, however, this coaster features no inversions, so you won't be able to get any hang time, sadly. And the crazy thing about this coaster is it features lap bars with no safety goggles, just a windshield. This coaster is going to open at Six Flags Qiddiya City in Saudi Arabia, which will definitely put Saudi Arabia on the map for coasters if it's not already. This park looks crazy with plenty of record-breaking rides that I might go over soon, but this is the headlining attraction by far. This coaster winds around the whole park, and it looks like it duels with literal race cars. It is crazy. This coaster's trains also look pretty good too, having like an eagle kind of. This coaster only has a capacity of 14 passengers per train, which if you look at some B&M coasters, which have 32, this is pretty small. And I think this will have a very, very long line. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And leave a comment saying which of these coasters you have ridden. If you've not ridden any, tell me the fastest coaster you have ridden. If you really like roller coasters like me, check out my shorts and my long form videos. There's more coming soon on my channel page. Anyways, have a great day. Keep riding coasters as theme park recommendations always says. And if you haven't ridden any of these coasters, please make sure to try to check at least one of them out because they all are awesome. And goodbye.